Hey everybody, welcome to your horoscopes for this week. These are the horoscopes for the week ending June 11th, 2016. That darn old mutable Grand Cross is breaking up at the end of the week, thank goodness, but so is our Grand Earth Trine. So we got a little bit of good, a little bit of bad, a little bit of it doesn't really matter. We're going to find out which one of the signs are, of course, going to hold on to those things, and we're going to start, as we always do, with Aries. Now, of course, Aries wasn't part of the mutable Grand Cross or the Grand Earth Trine, so you guys really didn't have anything to worry about before. We still have that square between Uranus and Pluto there, though, and it is causing a little bit of a financial strain for you guys. Now, the financial strain is not so much necessarily the problem, but of course it's how you see the situation. And when you're talking about patterns, old patterns, how you think about finances and money, or whether or not you have money or you don't have money, is really the root of the problem here, which is why Uranus's sextile with the moon at the beginning of the week, the sun and Venus, is a really big help, because as these planets all line up together, they line up with an energy that helps you make money by really making big strides in your career. And on Friday, when the moon moves a little bit further down into Virgo, this little sextile is going to be a grand sextile. So on Friday, you got a really, really, really powerful energy to help boost that career forward, and of course, boost your ability to make more money. The money, whether you have it or not, is not the issue. This square is trying to remind you to stop worrying about the money problem and start looking at it for what it is. It's a chance to do something new. It's a chance to make money in a different way. It's a chance to overcome this frustration over money issues. And of course, that frustration lives right in here, and you don't want to feed that fear. So this week, it's up to you guys to change your money circumstances around. Don't go straight to worrying about money, because that's unproductive and it does nothing. Instead, you need a little bit more money, it's time to go find that money. So you guys have a great week with that. Taurus, this week, the last days of the Grand Earth Trine between Mercury, Jupiter, and Pluto are ahead this week. By the end of the week, that whole Grand Earth Trine is going to be broken up, and you're going to definitely feel that energy breaking up for you Tauruses, especially as Mercury is going to be in opposition with Mars all week this week. Now, that opposition is ending next week, but this week it's still going to be plaguing you a little bit. You're going to have that Grand Earth Trine energy, which is pushing you forward to your goals and wishes and dreams, really pushing you ahead with what you want. But that opposition between Mercury and Mars is going to kind of make it feel like you're walking through quicksand to get to those goals, or to the end of those goals, I should say. And that, of course, is a really frustrating energy. And as the Grand Earth Trine starts to break up, it gets even more frustrating, because there's really nothing there to kind of help that opposition along. The bottom line here is the feeling of quicksand is really all in your mind, because where Mars is, it centers in how you think. Now, if you're thinking about this challenge as being something that's getting in the way, it's a great big wall between you and what you want, well then of course you're going to make that wall much bigger. And of course you don't want to do that, right? You want to make that wall smaller. So this week it's all about training your mind to think the way that you want it to think. Of course, when these difficulties come up and these challenges come up, if you go straight to, oh my God, it's going to ruin everything, well then chances are it's going to do just that. But if you actually go to your mind in that it's going to ruin everything place, and you say, you know what, no, I'm not willing to put that kind of energy into it. I want to change my thoughts in a more positive direction to something that's going to help me, well then you are going to be more successful. So this week, it's all about what you are thinking when it comes to those goals and dreams. You don't need a Grand Earth Trine in order to achieve your goals. It does make it a little bit easier. It puts a great energy towards it, but you don't need it. You can achieve your goals and dreams at any time. But how you look at your own commitment and how you look at your own progress is really going to be the deal breaker here. You don't want to look at it as it's going to be such a difficult process to get to, because the more you do that, the more difficult that process is going to be. So you guys have a great week with that. Gemini, happy birthday to all the Geminis born this week. The Sun and Venus continue in that mutable grand cross in your sign with Jupiter, Saturn, and Neptune until about Thursday or Friday this week when that mutable grand cross starts to break up. Actually, what's really happening is the Sun and Venus are moving out of squared position with Neptune. So we're not going to quite have a mutable grand cross, but it is going to break down into 2 T-squares, and one of those T-squares involves the Sun and Venus in your sign. When the moon kicks off this week in your sign too, though it's not really exactly part of that mutable grand cross, it is going to make things a little bit more difficult for you or heighten those frustrations of the chaotic energy of that mutable grand cross. Now the good news is that all week long, the moon, sun, and Venus are going to be in sextile position with Uranus, which is a very helpful aspect to get you through this huge chaotic energy with this mutable grand cross, and the T-square with the Sun, Venus, Jupiter, and Saturn at the end of this week. Now the bottom line is these difficult aspects are going to cause difficulties. They're going to make the energy a bit chaotic. They're going to make it seem like no matter how hard you try, you're not going to be able to get there. But at the same time, this sextile that they have with Uranus is really bringing you some big financial opportunities centered around your career. So the bottom line here is, if you can look past the chaos, if you can step outside of the chaos and not let it become all of these different things in your life that are burying you, the financial opportunities are everywhere. They're all around every single corner. You just have to be able to identify with them. And of course, you're not going to be able to identify them if you're swimming in the chaos of everything that's going on around you. So this week, it's time to step out of the chaos. It's time to step out of all of those chaotic things that are going on in your mind and simply say, I'm not a part of the chaos. I'm not going to the drama party. I am open for opportunities to better myself. And then keep your eyes open, because those opportunities are going to be right around the corner for you all week long. So you guys have a great week with that. Cancer, the moon comes into your sign on Monday and Tuesday this week, and her opposition with Pluto is going to make it seem like you're having the same old argument with somebody that you've been having forever now. You know how it is when you always seem to get into this trap with the same argument with somebody, and it's really, really frustrating. You don't want to keep having the same argument. And of course, as human beings, our minds go to, if this person just only stop doing what they were doing, things would be so much easier, right? We all wear that card. We all do that from time to time. Now the good news is that the Sun is going to move into position with Mercury, with Jupiter, with Mars, and with Neptune in beautiful ways. And all of these aspects are coming to show you that it's time for you to change how the argument is done and not so much the other person. When we say, if this person would just start doing this, we're giving them the power. And 9 times out of 10, when you give them the power, chances are you're not going to get a satisfactory outcome. That's how that works. You got to put the power in your own hands. And instead of being so fixed in your beliefs or your reasons for staying the way that you are in this argument, maybe it's time for you to change things up so that you can end this argument for good. So this week is all about ending that argument. You're not going to have that same argument anymore. You're going to take that power back in your hands, and you are going to change the way that game is played. And only then will you be able to walk away from this specific argument for good. So you guys have a great week with that. Leo, the moon comes into your sign on Wednesday and Thursday and creates 2 very, very, very big aspects as she moves into T-squared position with Mars and Mercury, but she moves into grand sextile position with the Sun, Venus, and Uranus. Now, we've got one big difficult aspect and we've got one pretty big positive aspect, and they're kind of sitting on top of each other. So this week it's all about learning how to use the positive aspect to overcome the challenge. Now this T-square course is going to put you in a position where you feel like all of your goals are just so unreachable. They're so far away. There's just no possible way that you can reach them. And because you think there's no possible way of reaching them, chances are you're not even going to start. Now, this is what happens to everybody. Everybody does this. They let that fear take over, and then they stop dead in their tracks, and they don't even bother trying. The good news is that the grand sextile that the moon is making up on Friday with the sun, Venus, and Uranus is a very positive influence towards your finances and your career. And it's showing you that these old fear patterns are what's fueling the success. Believe it or not. When you're looking and identifying these old fear patterns and how they hold you back, you can determine how to change those situations so you're not doing the same thing that you did before. And by eliminating the same thing that you did before, you're actually putting yourself in a place of power. Because once you put yourself in that place, success is yours, baby. You got it in the bag when you think about it. So this week, don't focus on the challenge. Focus how you can overcome that challenge. And when that fear comes up, and it's usually all right here in your mind, you want to tell your brain, I don't want to feed that fear right now. I want positive thoughts in order to manifest what I want so that I can get where I want to go. And that will put you in a place of power. So you guys have a great week with that. Virgo, the moon is going to come into your sign Friday and Saturday this week, just in time for that mutable grand cross that Jupiter is involved in with the Sun, Venus, Saturn, and Neptune to be kind of breaking apart a little bit. But that does not mean that Jupiter is not, unfortunately, a part of two separate T-squares involving all of these same planets that were in the mutable grand cross. And the moon's placement in this is going to make that even more frustrating, as it seems like everything is on you. Everything that you want to do in terms of your goals and your dreams and finances and everything, it just feels like you have to do all the work, otherwise it won't get done. Now the good news is that the moon is also going to be helping out with Jupiter's trine with Pluto. That grand Earth trine is going to break up this week, but Jupiter and Pluto are going to remain in trine position for a little while, and that trine is really going to be helpful. When it comes to these frustrating situations, your ultimate goal or your ultimate thought is you need to change what you're doing, because if you change what you're doing, it's going to fix the situation. However, Pluto's retrograde position, and Pluto being the planet of change, is trying to tell you that change is not a good idea at this time. You don't want to change what you've been doing, because then ultimately you're going to feel like you're starting over. You need to steer the course of what you're doing regardless of what anybody says, or regardless of the fact that you feel like you're the one that's putting in all the work. It may feel like that right now, but what you're doing is you're laying down the foundation, as well as you're actually showing everybody how it needs to be done so that they can fall into suit and kind of sort of follow your lead, if you will. And if you change things now, you're going to wind up screwing everything up, and you don't want to do that. So this week, yes, there's some challenges there, of course. Yes, you're going to feel that responsibility, and it's going to feel really heavy, and you're going to feel in some ways like you're doing it all on your own. But stay the course, and I guarantee you things are going to look up real soon. So you guys have a great week with that. Libra, the person that you once were and the person that you are now are indeed two different people, and that is what it's all about this week. In order to have any kind of personal growth, we have to make changes. We have to eliminate parts of ourselves that don't really serve our best interests in order to make room for new personality traits that do actually serve a purpose for us. And this week, this is what it's all about. When you're looking back at the person that you were, say maybe when you were younger, you're always giving yourself a false sense of failure now if you're not the same person. At least that's how people normally look at it. But the truth is that as you grow and as you develop and as we mature, so to speak, we do change. We become better. And that being better is actually really a good thing. And while we have let go of some of those traits that we had when we were young, maybe, in some cases our attitudes or the energy that we put into things, we're actually giving them away for a reason, because we're allowing new things to come in and new growth to happen within ourselves. What you want to do is take an inventory of who you are now and understand how who you were then comes into play. And look at those traits that maybe you miss about yourself from who you were then, and learn how to use them in a positive way for now. This is actually what's going to bring you success. If you're looking back at yourself and thinking, I wish I was still this, and you're not willing to try and find a way to do that now, you're really doing yourself a disservice. Because the truth is, the more you complain about it, the more you worry about it, or the more you beat yourself up over it, the more you're not productive. And when you're not productive, you're not getting anything positive done. The growth stops. You want to keep moving forward, and that's what it's all about. So this week, take that inventory. Look back at who you were back then. Be grateful for the things that you let go of that are no longer serving your best interests. And those things that maybe you'd like to kind of sort of tap into or get back, get them back. Just get them back in a way that's going to be productive for you now, and not in a way that's going to hold you back. So you guys, have a great week with that. Scorpio, Mars opposition with Mercury this week is definitely going to make you feel like your goals and dreams are so far away, there's no possible way that you're going to get to them. And that is a very frustrating energy for sure, especially with Mars being in retrograde and in your sign. But at the same time, the dark moon is in your sign to remind you where that feeling is coming from. And we want to look right here to how you're thinking about the situation. If you are thinking about the situation as we always do, and you're thinking about those goals, and you're thinking about them being so far away that you can't reach them, hey, chances are they're not going to be reachable for you guys. And the dark moon is coming in to say you need to change your thoughts in order to manifest what it is that you want when it comes to these goals and dreams. Now the truth is we often look at a goal, or we often look at an idea and say, this is where I want to be, and we expect to go from here to here with no work in between. And guess what, guys? It ain't gonna work that way. You gotta take baby steps towards your goal. And there is gonna be a little veering off to the side here and a little veering off to the side here. But the thing is, you're always gonna come back here, providing you have some sort of a step-by-step guide to where you want to be. So this week, you gotta take inventory of your thoughts. When you're sitting there and you're looking at your goals and you're looking at something that you want to accomplish and you think there's no way that that's going to happen, you got to go back into here and you've got to retrain your brain to think positively, to think manifest, to think helpful thoughts to get me where I want to go. Not damaging thoughts that are going to keep me sitting here in this seat that I don't want to be in. So you guys, have a great week with that. Sagittarius, even though the mutable Grand Cross is going to break up a little bit, Saturn's position is still going to feel like it is still there, especially as he's involved when this mutable Grand Cross breaks up. He's still involved in 2 T-squares between himself, of course, the Sun, Venus, Jupiter, and Neptune. I mean, all the same planets of the mutable Grand Cross. It's just one little boop is broken up, and it really doesn't affect you guys, unfortunately. Now, with all of this chaotic energy and all of these responsibilities to everybody else that you have to do, the mutable Grand Cross is reminding you of your responsibilities to number 1. And who's number 1? Number 1 is you, of course. You're number 1. And you need to make sure that you take care of you first and everything else afterwards. Now, when it comes to specific goals, especially specific career goals, a lot of the time, all of these responsibilities get in the way. And we find all different kinds of things that are coming in and making this energy even more chaotic than it needs to be. But this week, these aspects are trying to teach you that you can live in the chaos if you really want to, but why? They're asking why. Why would you choose to do that when the truth is that 9 times out of 10, the reason why you haven't made these career commitments maybe that you want to make is because you're using all of this chaos as an excuse. You just don't have the time. And how many times have I heard that excuse? I just don't have the time. You make time. If you want it enough, you are going to make time for it. So this week, it's time to look at the chaos for what it is. Is it really just life being chaotic? Possibly, it could be. But if your life seems to be chaotic most of the time, then it really is time for you to, one, find out what part you're playing in that chaos, and two, find out how much of that chaos you're using as an excuse not to really see what it is that you know you can do. So you guys, have a great week with that. Capricorn, well, Pluto's grand Earth trine with Mercury and Jupiter is going to break up a little bit this week. Good news is that Pluto's going to continue in that trine position with Jupiter. And this is really going to be helpful with in terms of that square that Pluto has with Uranus this week. Now, this square with Uranus is definitely going to cause some financial difficulties. It's going to make it seem like, and it has been for a few weeks, it's going to make it seem like, you know, the finances, getting the finances that you need to be able to do the things that you want to do are really, really difficult. But let's talk about finances and Capricorns for a minute. They go together like peanut butter and jelly. Nobody on the zodiac, no other sign on the zodiac is as good at making money, budgeting money, saving money, or dealing with money better than Capricorns. So, but at the same time, Capricorns are horrendous worrywarts and they worry about everything. Now, what these two aspects are teaching you is to stop worrying about your financial difficulty and start doing what you do best, which is doing something to fix it. And this trine that Pluto has with Jupiter, as well as the sextile that Pluto has with Neptune, are putting you in a powerful position to fix this money issue for good. Because the truth is, that's what Capricorns do. They do things. They don't think about doing things, they do things. You got some ideas to help eliminate that financial strain? Don't just think about them. Do something with them. Turn them into something. Whatever it takes and whatever you need to do, it's up to you guys this week to make it happen. So you guys, have a great week with that. Aquarius, this week it's time to get things moving, especially when it comes to the work that you do on a day-to-day basis. Now, Aquarians are known for big ideas, big, bright ideas. Aquarians are brilliant idea makers, and it's a wonderful thing. But an idea is just an idea unless you actually do something with it and manifest it into something physical. And this week is what it's all about. You got to take the time to put in the work. You can have 1,000 fantastic ideas, but they mean nothing if you don't make them into something. Or somebody else is going to have that fantastic idea too, and they're going to go do the work, and they're going to grab onto it, and they're going to make something out of it, and you're going to be sitting there wishing that you had done something with it. So this week is really all about getting things done, putting the work into it. You got an idea, write an outline of how you can put that idea into a physical manifestation, and then start doing the work. The whole point to this week for Aquarians is really getting their hands dirty, getting down and dirty, and really building something around these ideas and making them into something that's really going to make you successful. So you guys, have a great week with that. And finally, Pisces, Neptune's immutable Grand Cross is going to break up this week with the Sun and Venus moving out of squared position with Neptune. But unfortunately, Neptune is still going to be in T-squared position with Saturn and Jupiter. Now, that's a little bit easier than that chaotic, mutable Grand Cross energy. And unfortunately, it is going to come back as Mercury moves into Gemini for about a week or so. Maybe next week or the week after. But you get a break from it this week. Now, the challenge, of course, with this T-square and at the beginning of the week with this mutable Grand Cross is really feeling like everybody else's responsibilities come before your responsibilities to yourself. And it gets overwhelming. And a lot of the time we use these responsibilities to other people as really good excuses why we can't move forward in our own personal goals. And this is always a bad thing when you do this. What you're actually saying is, I'm too scared to do what I know I need to do, so I'm going to fall back on all these other things that I need to do so that I don't set myself up for failure. That's what you're doing, and you don't want to do that. The truth is, you're not setting yourself up for failure. You're setting yourself up for the most amazing thing possibly that you've ever done in your life. you're setting yourself up to actually walk your path and do what it is that you were set on this earth to do. And yes, it's a scary thing. And yes, it takes a lot of work. But the truth is, once you get there, you are not going to be sorry that you put in the work. Now, thinking about that right now, when you need to take the steps to get there, do you really want to not take the steps to get there and find out if you can get there? I don't think so. So this week, it really is all about prioritizing. Put yourself on your schedule. Put your own goals on your schedule. And when somebody comes in and says, hey, I need you now, it's very simple. I'm sorry, but I'm busy right now, but give me 45 minutes and I'm all yours. And it's as simple as that. You don't have to drop everything that you're doing in order to help somebody else. You just have to set some boundaries so that you have the time to do it. So you guys have a great week with that. Thank you so much for watching the horoscopes for this week. I'm Melissa Bruce, the Heavy Metal Psychic. The HeavyMetalPsychic.com is being launched sometime this week, so keep checking back to see. We've got also being launched this week the Heavy Metal Psychics Development Boot Camp, and this is a fantastic year-long program that covers every type of development, from personal growth development, to empathy, to psychic abilities, to mediumship, to meditation. The sky is the limit with this program. So keep looking back for HeavyMetalPsychic.com and take a look at that boot camp program, and also meet the teachers that are helping me with this program this Friday on www.paramaniaradio.com at 4 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time on Friday, this Friday. You don't want to miss it. Again, thank you so much. I'm Melissa Bruce, a Heavy Metal Psychic. Thank you for watching the horoscopes, and I will see you guys next week. Make it a great week, everybody.